Hey there, it's the Yard Buddha, and today we're going to build ourselves some tomato cages. These tomatoes I have grown from seed from about 3 months ago. Put these in these straw bales about 2 weeks ago, and they're starting to get big, and so I just want to build some support before they start spreading out too far or too much in the middle. If you want to see any of my videos on how I grew them from seed, they're on there, and then also how I did these straw bales, they're on there. But I have grown these tomatoes here before. These are Purple Cherokee heirloom tomatoes, and they can get up to 6 or 7 feet if you let them. And so I am going to build some strong, sturdy cages for these guys this year. And enough of these puny, little weak cages here that you buy and the welds break and the things fall off. You just toss those, or the welds curl and everything, or you can kung fu kick them out there in the yard too. So, or you can give them to your neighbors, which that's what neighbors gave me those. No longer we're going to use some nice sturdy cattle panel, and I've done some research on how to use these guys. I did go down to my local farm store. I think this was started out as a 16-foot panel, and I used some bolt cutters here, which I borrowed from a neighbor. You don't have to use those. You could probably use a strong, pretty sturdy pair of shears, but this 16-foot panel I cut into 8-foot panels to fit in my trailer, and this probably cost me $20 for one panel, so 2 8-foot panels, and it's gonna last a long time. I mean, these welds are made for cattle, made for livestock. So the little investment, it's going to last you a long time. I did have to cut it and have these kind of spikes at the end, but I think those are going to come in handy because I may actually end up planting those into the ground around the bottom of the straw bale just as supports. And I do have some other plants in kind of fabric containers that aren't as high, and I think I'm just going to build, since it's an 8-foot panel, I think I'm just going to build a 2x4x2 little cage around these, and then maybe splice in like a little 2-foot panel in between those. These are cucumbers, so they are going to climb. They're not going to get that high. But this here is another heirloom tomato, and this is just straw that is left over from last year that I compacted into these containers. These here are jalapeno peppers. They're not going to need any cages. So all you really need for this project is maybe some zip ties. You can also use string or any other sort of, garden twine or anything. And I got this 2x4, which I'm going to place on the cattle panel and bend it at 90-degree angles. So I may have to snip a few things here and there with these clippers, but for the most part, that's what I'm gonna do. I don't really need any support for the tomatoes back here, at least like climbing wise, but I do want to, I'm gonna have one on the side here, one in the middle, and one on the side here. And I do want to kind of attach everything together just for some structure. I'm gonna leave the fronts open on all of these just so that I can get in there and trim and also harvest the tomatoes when they're ready. Sorry. Sorry for the wind, it's a windy day. I do have these other little tiny zip ties, which I'll probably use a lot of those, but the big zip ties I might use just for the base. And we'll show you what it looks like when I get it done. Okay, so I just wanted to show you here real quick on how I bend these. This panel here is going to be for my little tiny container ones. So I just need a 2 foot by 4 foot by 2 foot. Luckily, right at this bar here is 2 feet. So all I'm going to do is brace it with this 2x4. It does take a bit of pressure and go a little bit away from where you want to bend. And these are hard to break, so you can go all the way down. Try to get a 90-degree angle as much as you can. You can even put the 2x4 again at the top. We're just trying to stop right here at this bar. So, put as much pressure as you can on there. These welds are staying strong. And then you just fold it back out to 90 degrees. So now we've got our 4 by 2 by 2. We'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so that's what this cage is going to look like around these fabric containers. And then I'm going to just put a 2-inch panel in between those two, probably with the spikes down on the ground. Attach it with some zip ties, and then the tomatoes can grow up into the middle. The cucumbers can grow up into the middle, and everything will be nice and sturdy. Alright, so I got my middle section here all kind of pounded down with the spikes. You definitely want to go with the heavier zip ties. We're making strong cages here, so use the strong zip ties. So this one was on a spike, pounded it down the middle. This one is just laying on the ground, but it's nice and sturdy for these guys. I just had to fish out my drip line and then spoon it back in. So that was really easy because I had a backside to kind of go around if you guys are just doing pots, then that's kind of the way to do it. But I got a different beast over here. This is my custom straw bale contraption, and I went big. I tried to use as much of the cattle panel as I could, and I did have 2 cattle panels, so that was 2 16-footers I cut into 8s. These ones I made probably about 6 foot high, so I have very high expectations, sorry for the pun, of these plants here. I left the center open so that I can get in there and cut off suckers and harvest, and then I just have a little probably 4-foot section here in the middle, and then I can also get in the middle in between the plants, and hopefully I can kind of feed them over into the side structures. I just have this kind of top support here to keep things a little more sturdy. If I need to, I can stake it in on the sides, but I do have everything kind of zip tied to a back structure there. Like I said, I don't need lattice on the back because this is all closed off, So I just pounded down a little piece down there behind there and zip tied these in so that they're nice and firm. These ones did have the spikes going straight into the ground, so they should be okay. I do definitely recommend, if you're doing something custom like this, have some bolt cutters, because I did quite a few cuts just to fit it in this area. But I do plan on having these straw bales here in the future time and time again, so this structure should fit these, you know, every year. So for a $30 or $40 investment for these 2 cattle panels, you're gonna have yourself a cage that's gonna last a long time. Last year in these straw bales, I used this little green one, and they actually went up and over the green one, so it's not too far of a stretch for them to, you know, get up another foot. And maybe I should throw this out in the yard or give it a kung fu kick, but I may use it for, I've got some morning glories here that like to grow, so they're nice and light. They're not going to overpower this, so I may use them for that. So hope you guys enjoyed this little project. Check out my growing the tomatoes from the seed and the straw bale, and I had a whole lot of fun. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.